I'm getting tired of reading about Pete Hegseth, but this story keeps unfolding and it keeps getting weirder and stranger. Okay, so Capitol Hill got to see the video of the now infamous double tap boat strike. Conflicting narratives are emerging, so let's dissect this. First, let's watch Democrat Representative Jim Hines talk about the strike.
What I saw in that room was one of the most troubling things I've seen in my time in public service. You have two individuals in clear distress, without any means of locomotion, with a destroyed vessel, who were killed by the United States.
I'd like to point out how he describes the strike. What he saw in the footage seems to agree with the initial reporting done by the Washington Post. The Washington Post said, a missile screamed off the Trinidad coast, striking the vessel and igniting a blaze from bow to stern. For minutes, commanders watched the boat burning on a live drone feed. As the smoke cleared, they got a jolt. Two survivors were clinging to the smoldering wreck. Okay, so the reporting even fits with Pete Hegseth's narrative. He says there was fire and smoke and he didn't see anything and left. When the Washington Post describes the smoke clearing, they said it was the commanders who were watching, not Pete Hegseth, so he wouldn't have seen the survivors.
I watched that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever we're at.
So you didn't see any survivors, to be clear, after that first strike? You personally?
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire.
The question still remains of whether Pete Hegseth issued a kill them all order. According to Admiral Frank M. Bradley, there was no such order to kill them all. Both Republican and Democrat narratives align with this detail since it was given to them by the Admiral.
The Admiral confirmed that there had not been a kill them all order and that there was not an order to grant no quarter.
Was there a kill all order from Secretary Hegseth?
No, both. Admiral Bradley was very clear that he was given no such order, not to give no quarter or to kill them all. He was given an order that, of course, was written down in great detail, as our military always does.
But there's one pesky little fact that doesn't add up in all of this. This is where the narrative splinters off to the left and the right. What was the state of the boat and the survivors? If the boat was in pieces, why would this seasoned admiral issue that command? But before we try to answer that question, let's see how Republican Representative Senator Tom Cotton describes the survivors and the state of the boat.
Exactly did you see in terms of the video of the second strike? Were there survivors?
I saw two survivors trying to flip a boat loaded with drugs down for the United States, back over, so they could stay in the fight.
Senator Tom Cotton's description of the situation is almost laughable. He doesn't really add any details about the actual state of the boat, but insists that the survivors are trying to flip it over to continue their mission. Democrat Representative Jim Hines went on Midas Touch and gave us a better description of what the scene looked like from the footage he viewed.
But even if you stipulate that it's a war, there is an extremely specific prohibition against killing individuals who've been removed from the fight. The French term they use is hors de combat. And there is no question that these individuals were removed from the fight. They were in the last hours of their life, even if we had left them alone because they were floating on a piece of flotsam in the middle of an ocean. Maybe they might have been recovered by some of their colleagues, but they posed zero threat to anyone in the region. And we killed them. There's not a lot more I can say. You can suppose that maybe they might have been able to find a radio, even though it appeared that they were sort of hanging on to the keel of a boat.
So he states that they were hanging onto a piece of flotsam, which ended up being the keel of the boat. Flotsam is maritime lingo for floating wreckage of a ship or its cargo, and in this case, the flotsam was the keel of a boat. Okay, now the keel of a boat is the central longitudinal structural beam along the bottom of the hull from bow to stern. Now remember how the Washington Post described the initial strike? A missile screamed off the Trinidad coast, striking the vessel and igniting a blaze from bow to stern. So if the boat was destroyed from bow to stern, this could indicate intense structural damage that would result in the keel of the ship detaching. And the only time you would see the keel of a ship is if it flipped over or if it detached from the ship. If we watch the video available of the strike, we can see that when the boat is striked, it doesn't flip over at all. In fact, it appears to continue moving through the water, engulfed in flames. If it didn't flip over, the keel of the ship may have detached, indicating major structural damage to the boat. This would render the passengers stranded at sea. In my opinion, it seems that Tom Cotton's description of the boat does not line up with the facts that we've observed. It appears that there was no boat to flip over, just flotsam adrift at sea. Now we're back to the question of if the boat appeared to be wrecked, why would a seasoned admiral issue a second strike on what would appear to be two people stranded at sea? In that moment, it would have been clear that a second strike would be unlawful. Now, I personally would not be surprised to learn that Admiral Frank M. Bradley and Pete Hegseth are lying. Both men have a lot to lose if this was true, so both men have good motive to hide the truth. They should just release the video and let the American people see what happened. They should release any and all communication between Hegseth and the Admiral, and there needs to be a thorough investigation on this entire situation, including all the people that reported to the Washington Post.
Do you think the video should be released publicly?
I do.
Do you believe the whole video should be released in its entirety?
I mean, I'll leave that to the Department of Defense and whether or not there's anything in there they don't want to release. I didn't see anything in there that concerned me. Look, these videos